Okay, so weekly assignment this week is to say how I feel that I'm doing on my goals. Well, for one thing, I just looked at one of your feedbacks from one week where essentially this is the same assignment from, I guess, week 4. And I said that I had uploaded a video. And to my knowledge, up until just now, I had uploaded all the videos except one, the one that I said I skipped because I didn't know I wasn't sure which IPA forms to use for my dialect. That was the only one that I thought that I missed. Now, I know I had an issue last week with uploading a video to YouTube, and because I'm doing it on my iPod, if I don't like manually sit and keep my screen, um, I guess powered on, sometimes it won't post. So I was wondering if it was that, but I'm gonna have to go back and check and see if I actually recorded it. What I think actually happened with that was that I was referring to a different week. I think I was referring to the Author of the Rat, the first video that we made, which was the assignment for the following week. So I don't know. Anyway, as far as my goals, let's see. My goals were to work more diligently, which I would say I'm probably 75% on that. Although obviously with me missing assignments and not realizing until I get feedback on them and not really knowing what you were talking about, I probably could be better about that. But you can always be better about any goal. As far as being more forthcoming about expressing my state of being outwardly, I think I've been very good about that. I haven't exactly stuck to having like little one-on-ones, short one-on-ones with all the teachers every week, but I don't really feel like that's been necessary, really. I've done that a few times with Gary, and I've talked a few times with Sherry, but I never really need to talk to Rex or anything about anything, and I try to stay out of your way, considering everything that we've been doing with your class and with the musical. But now that the musical is over and your class is sort of over, I don't foresee any major problems that I need to talk about. Really, the person I've been confiding in the most is Gary and then Sherry. But I think I'm meeting the goal on that because I don't think I've needed to express where I am as an artist and as a student and as a person as much. And in any event, a lot of times I need to process my feelings before I speak about things because I know that I will overreact. And I like to try to contain that because I know that I will overreact. So I can see, am I legitimately feeling something, or if it's something that I need to, just deal with my feelings. And maybe I'll feel differently about them after I deal with them or process them or whatever you want to call it. Be more physically expressive. I think I've been more physically expressive, at least in the musical anyway. I did. I got a note from Rex about relaxing. I never know what to say about relaxing on stage because, for one thing, if someone tells you to relax, then you're automatically going to tense up because you're going to be like, relax. But I felt that there was a change between the first costume run through and the entire run of the show. And I know I tried more physical things, at least in the last run of the musical, which resulted in me forgetting some of my lines because I had tried something different. I feel like sometimes if I try something different physically, then that is like one idea in and one idea out. Be better prepared. That one is definitely either 50-50 or 25-75, especially with what happened with SETC with job contact. Now, I didn't get to say this to you, but I did say this to Gary. I would have felt better about the situation, and I don't think that I would have had as intense a reaction if, when I was trying to get in contact with you guys, so I could ask you questions about what it was that they were needing, if someone would have been available. And when I said, this is what I meant specifically that I said to Gary that I didn't get to say to you. When you asked if I was at all curious about the workshop that would be offering, and I said no, what I was referring to specifically was that I wasn't curious as to which workshops would be offered because I knew that there would be some that I would be interested in. So I wasn't curious in the sense of, well, it didn't matter to me which ones were available because I knew I was going to have plenty of options to do them. So what I did was I brought a lot of stuff that I thought I might need. So I was curious in that sense, but I wasn't like, I don't want you to think that when I said that I wasn't curious at all, that I just didn't care. It's just that I knew that there would be something that I could learn from and something that I would need to go to. So it didn't matter to me specifically what was available because I knew that there would be something available. And in retrospect, that might not have been the best approach just because what if there wasn't something that I liked or if there wasn't something that I would have wanted, I might have gotten screwed over in that sense if I hadn't looked. So I probably should have looked, but I didn't look because I knew that I didn't look because I knew that I had faith that there would be something that I could have gained in some of those workshops. If that makes sense. So I hope that clears that up. I mean, that may not make a difference to you. And I wasn't wanting to blame you guys for not being prepared. What I was really feeling more than anything is that there were class times with Gary that we could have dedicated to, building a portfolio for technical things. And that a lot of us have gotten experience on the technical side and we hadn't really done anything to prepare for that. And I don't care what Emily says. Two things. Number one, I don't remember us ever talking about a portfolio. And I'm not saying that that didn't happen. I'm just saying that I don't remember that happening. And even if that did happen, mentioning that we would need to build a portfolio once and then 6 months passing and us never actually working on it or never having an elaboration on what needs to go in there, I don't think is any type of preparation. Like, I'm not in the industry at this point. I'm not really in the professional side of the industry at this point. How would I know what needs to go in there? I went down with a resume that they wouldn't even let me do job walkthrough because they said it wasn't techie enough. So there's no way that I would have known that. So my frustration came from I could not find anyone to answer any questions that I might have had, and there was time that we literally did nothing that we could have used to prepare those of us that wanted to do that. Now, like I was telling Gary, since as far as I know, I was the only one that actually paid for and did any job contact. If the rest of the class was like that, then we would have needed to prepare for that. And I don't know if that would be something that we would need to dedicate class time to if no one is really interested in doing that. But I would have liked to have had the option. Because if SCTC in their workshops, for me, it was about going there to possibly get a job, preferably an acting job. But if a tech job could lead to an acting job or that could get your foot in the door, I was cool with doing that. But from watching the other people who weren't auditioning, it felt like the rest of my classmates were more interested in just going to workshops and doing more creative things and gaining newer experiences. So in that sense, we were very prepared for that. But that's not what I was going into SCTC for. I was going there to get a job, not to, do fun things, meet new people, get new skill sets. I was going so I could hopefully find some work. So that would put me in the minority, and I don't think that class time would need to be dedicated to something that only I wanted to do in that sense. But if there were other people in the class who were looking, hey, especially like if I don't understand why Emily didn't do it because she's done a lot of the background stuff for productions at school. So at the very least, I would have expected her to do it. But I think that there needs to be an option or some time allocated to build a portfolio to be shown. And I did realize after talking to Gary and just taking in the people once I finally did get to interview, and I did have some successful interviews, by the way, that a lot of those people who went to job contact, I think that's the only thing that they did. And I think that they've been to SCTC before because some of them had such expensive portfolios. I'm thinking that there's no possible way that you could have done that in one day. So I would agree that taking the first years to SCTC would probably benefit them so they can see what it is. Because getting there in the time that we had and trying to figure all of that out and process that while we're there, knowing that there were workshops that I wanted to go to and ones that I had paid to go to, it would have just been a smoother experience if I would have known a little bit more about what I was getting myself into prior to going there. And no amount of one newsletter and a website that I have access to would have prepared me for the actual experience of it. We all learn differently. I'm not the type that I can just read something once or get a mention of something once and that's enough. You know, it's repetition, it's exposure for me. But we all have different learning styles. But I feel like I'm getting off in a tangent. As far as me being prepared, there are some things that I over-prepared for. I brought plenty of clothes, plenty of shoes. I didn't bring my musical repertoire book, and that was just an oversight on my part because I was making sure that I had everything else that might possibly come up that I might need, and that just happened to be the one thing that I had forgotten. But knowing that I had paid for job contact ahead of time, it would have been nice if someone would have been like, well, checked in with me to ask me, you know, do you know what this is? Do you know what they're going to ask? Do you know anything about these companies? Do you know what it is that they're looking for? Because the resumes that we prepared in class are really acting resumes. Oh, also, I need to work on my acting resume because it's just completely out of format for everyone else. And it's on more than one page and it's front back. Now, that works out fine right now because I don't have a headshot. But once I get one, I'm going to have to change mine. Like, the resume format that I have now works better for tech resume than it does for acting. And I really didn't know that there was two different resumes, really. And that's another thing that I don't think that we went over in class at all. Because like I said, I tried to go through Actor Tech Walkthrough, which one of the interviewers actually suggested to me. They would not let me do it. And that's some information that would have been useful to me earlier before we got there. It was just a lot. It was an overwhelming experience, and I was scrambling to get things done in a way that would have been useful to them and beneficial to me. And I don't know, maybe I'm just thinking of this in the wrong aspects. Like, maybe I should be taking this as an opportunity to be more proactive and be more responsible for myself. But considering that this is an academic event, a little bit more guidance would have been great. Especially given that we had a lot of time that we had allocated to one thing, and because of our class and their bullshit, we could not dedicate the time that we had allotted for certain things to those things. So I would have gladly used that time to, focus on my tech resume, especially because I really didn't appreciate what was going on with my classmates in regards to our end of the year capstones. I would have thrown all of that energy that I had towards that into tech, and I would have rather have done that information towards tech. But that's another entirely different subject that I have to at some point make peace with, I suppose. All right, it's my last goal. Whoops. Improve projection. That's a work in progress. There's always a work in progress. I took a class on the, Messick technique for enunciation, since I get that note consistently at some point that people can't understand what I'm saying. Although that's not necessarily projection per se, but I think I'm moving along in projection. Baby steps though. But that's where this is 15 minutes. That's where I think I am on my goals. I appreciate you guys being understanding and not like accusatory towards me. And I hope that I didn't come off that way. But it's just that I had been through a great range of emotions in less than 24 hours. And I really didn't want to talk about it at dinner that day because I didn't want it to become a big thing, and I would rather have just written out what I was thinking because I knew there was going to be a talkback or a response at some point anyway, and I would have rather have just done it that way. So yeah, in the end, I'm not trying to blame you guys because there were many areas that were completely my fault and completely oversights on my part that I take responsibilities for. But I think that some of that time that was wasted because of us could have been used towards this thing that would have helped me. Thank you.